Are those hands registered weapons yet?
Oh my God. Welcome everyone. We are back. We are here. Awful Takes, episode 24.
I'm here.
When I was 24, I felt like that's when I started to feel more older.
Yeah.
You know, felt tired.
Oh,
24,
no.
Kobe. All right.
Who are you?
My name is Mbahi,
Hello, I am Wallied from Sergator Productions.
and we are in the holiday season.
Woo! Ho, ho, ho.
Hopefully your guys' shopping is going well. Hopefully you're getting everyone the best gift you can. I try to put thoughts into gifts. Sometimes I can do it pretty good if I know the person. I do try to stay away from gift cards. Gift cards feel kind of like a cop-out. But then I guess I'm at the age where I'm like, I don't mind getting gift cards.
Yeah,
you know?
gift cards, I feel like it depends on the place, especially if it's a place or like a restaurant like people love.
Yeah. So there still has to be some thought put into it. But guys, please stay away from those Visa gift cards. Like, come on. That's just like, you didn't put any thought into that at all. So hopefully everyone's having a good holiday season. I know we're starting this a little bit later, so we're going to try to knock out as many holiday movies as we can, whether we have to record a certain amount of episodes in a certain amount of time. I just want to at least try. It might go a little bit past Christmas. I don't know. We'll see. So, again, I just apologize with the delay. But my guess is we'll probably be uploading more than one episode a week just to play catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
Whether that's within the span of Monday to Friday, a couple of days, I don't know. But we'll see. But thank you for joining us. If you're on YouTube, Spotify, if you're subscribed, thank you for still being here. I appreciate it. This is the show where we talk about movies, everything, and we have awful takes about them.
Yeah.
We had a little bit in the news recently. I know me and Wallied love to talk about Tarantino. I just feel like, me personally, his opinions on films feel very much like you're just getting someone who loves movies viewpoint,
Yeah.
Rarely do his answers or his opinions feel manufactured. I feel like there's a certain genuineness to him to where obviously there are some directors and things out, I feel like they have a PR person kind of guiding them,
Yeah.
With Tarantino,
No,
he feels 100% genuine. I feel like I'm hearing someone who loves movies just as much as I do, if not more, and he's just saying his opinions on things. So he had a quote recently in the news that I would like to discuss. Wallied, what was he caught saying recently?
So he recently went on a podcast and he had something to say about TV shows. So this is the quote. "There is not a payoff to TV shows like Yellowstone. When it's over, it's out of my head. It's completely gone." And right there, I was kind of mixed on this because I feel like, granted, while there are some shows where I feel like sometimes it does decline in quality, I feel like it's not really about the destination with some shows. I feel like it's kind of more like the journey you have with these characters. And I feel like you kind of grow to have like a connection with these characters by the time everything is said and done.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, at least for the most of the time, for most of the shows I've watched, it's never really like a forgettable experience.
Yeah. I think shows are a different medium in terms of you are given more time with characters. So in that, there may be moments that feel a little bit more or less, action scenes or, pinnacle life-changing moments. I feel like with shows, you are given that time to kind of live with these characters. They'll have the mundane stuff in TV shows, characters doing simple things, doing just the day-to-day life stuff, And I feel like in that, it can be kind of forgettable. But while you're watching it, at least for me, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the time that characters are given to breathe, to do stuff that may not be the, groundbreaking finale or the pinnacle evolution of a character, I feel like TV shows have that time to spend on simpler stuff, So I guess I will kind of agree that some stuff is kind of forgotten, but I still remember the great moments in TV that I've seen, especially a show this year just came out. I just finished it. It was called Arcane. I know not everything in the second season was straight 10 out of 10, top notch, everything, hitting on all cylinders, but man, do the impactful moments stick with me. I remember them so vividly. I remember the impactful moments from the first season that came out years ago. So I don't really agree with that statement. Granted, I haven't watched Yellowstone.
Yeah,
but I will say
either.
Tarantino did kind of broaden the conversation. I think he used the example of Yellowstone, but he was also talking about other shows in general as well.
Yeah.
So I agree somewhat with that statement, but again, I don't feel like the low ends of a TV show are worth complaining about. It's just because, again, I appreciate the time spending with the characters. It gives them that genuine feel to them.
Yeah, and especially because you have, with some shows, not every show, you have like 20 episodes, and I feel like some people can see it as filler, but I kind of just see it as like, it's more just time to slow down with the characters, and just like get to know them a little bit more. I feel like a great example of this, especially more recently, because I just finished it like a week or two ago, was Modern Family, actually, which runs for 11 seasons, and I'm not going to say all of it's perfect. There's some parts where some things don't land, and there's some issues with some characters, but I would say for the most part, it was a very, very consistent show, and it did stick the landing at the end, especially, which I won't spoil, but that was kind of like a show where you got to grow up with those characters, you got to see the kids in the show, and you see them eventually just like grow up into just kind of being like more complex and more, flawed. They don't have their lives in the best place. They don't have everything. Not everything is perfect in their lives. And I love to see that like family dynamic grow and grow with each season.
Exactly. And I feel like with movies, the medium, obviously, it's a lot shorter than a show, especially now with, most mainstream kind of television episodes are usually like that 40 minutes to an hour. So some seasons can be, 10 episodes. You're getting 10 hours, compared to a 2-hour movie. Movies are very much designed and written to be kind of useful of every minute you have on screen. And if something isn't useful or doesn't pertain super, super well, usually it ends up getting cut. So in that, you're very much given kind of very quick emotions, not quick emotions, but like, just very much the stuff that's needed, So I think with Tarantino, in terms of like shows and everything, it's like maybe someone like him who's a little bit more quick-minded and stuff, he doesn't need that. But again, like I appreciate that genuine feel. Yeah, sometimes in a show, it might be like a filler episode of just, the characters just going about day-to-day life stuff. But it does, I feel like it helps in having those emotional moments hit harder, because these feel like real people. They don't just feel like just kind of like an archetype or just a quick kind of, storyline or plot line or something. So I don't know. I think this might be one of the rare moments, or not rare moments, but one of the moments I kind of disagree with what Tarantino's saying. Again, I haven't watched Yellowstone. I haven't really seen a lot of those live action kind of modern TV shows that people kind of rave about. Like obviously Game of Thrones, Yellowstone, Ozark, things like that. Narcos. It's not because I don't think they're good or anything. It's just TV shows for me are kind of a big commitment. So I kind of, it has to hit in the right way. And I never really want to just simply going to a show because people are talking about it. You know, I want to be invested before I go in.
Yeah, because hype can definitely make or kill a show for somebody. So,
but yeah, I mean, Tarantino's been.
He's been saying a lot of things.
He has been saying a lot.
I know he was talking
Joker.
about. Yeah, he loves Joker too. Folie à deux.
That I'm just like, all right, I haven't seen it. I don't know if I'm ever going to watch it. So maybe he does genuinely like it. But I feel like with his comments, he seems to be more in favor of like the mentality behind it
rather than the execution.
Rather than the movie, you know?
Yeah.
And that always kind of gets me. Like, granted, I know some of my favorite artists, I do like it when they kind of have, you know, a message or something behind what they're doing. But usually I'm a big fan of the overall product that they turn out as well. However, in this case, I feel like with all the positives he kind of said, it's like, I feel like he likes more of the background rather. He didn't really say too many pluses in the movie besides Joaquin Phoenix and, you know, just the performances. You know, compared to someone, or when he like raves about a movie, he'll say a lot of the stuff that he liked in it, like the story, the visuals, the editing. He didn't really say that in terms of this movie. He just kind of said, I loved it. And I loved the message Todd Phillips sent to DC of like, I don't care what restrictions you put on me or what, I don't know, something. And I was just like, did he love the movie or is he just saying that?
I just kind of saw it as more of just like a publicity thing to get more like attention, you know? Because I know with Tarantino, he's very passionate about like his opinions on film. I can't even tell you how many times I go on YouTube and I see like clips of him talking about some like random new movie.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like he's probably more interested in like that rebellious type of filmmaking, I guess. And I guess maybe because it's more on like a grander scale. I mean, the movie cost like $200 million, which is insane.
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of what piqued his interest about it, maybe, if I was to guess. I mean, I haven't seen the movie either, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, Tarantino, he's very vocal, which I like. I wish more directors and stuff were like that. I guess maybe he is getting more comfortable with saying stuff because he is about to retire, quote unquote. We'll see. So maybe he feels like he can say more things now. However, I do wish, I just want to hear his opinions about the filmmaking, you know, like and that's how I am with most artists. I don't really like it when they state their opinion outside of their wheelhouse, you know, like with Tarantino, like he's a great screenwriter. He's a great director. I want to hear about that, you know. I want to hear about, you know, his love of laying out a shot, things like that, you know. So I guess with this Joker thing, it felt kind of forced and out of pocket for me with him. But, you know, again, maybe he actually thinks Joker 2 is a good movie. I don't know. But if he does want to delve further into that, I hope he actually talks more about the byproduct of the movie, you know, not just the message.
Because you know what, I don't know. Because my thing is like a film can have a great message, but if you don't execute it or you don't have like a very interesting way of showing that message, it can just kind of come across as flat or kind of preachy sometimes too.
Exactly.
You know, so,
but yeah, I guess that's it in terms of. There's no other movie news you wanted to talk about or mention.
Nah, that's kind of it. I mean, Kraven the Hunter is out in theaters right now.
God.
I know you're very excited for that.
Here it is, one of the worst movies ever made. I won't watch it. I know that. All right. We're going to talk about a Christmas movie today. I have a handful of Christmas movies that I love. Obviously, growing up, does kind of feel like nostalgia at this point. So I will say that beforehand that with this movie, I grew up watching it. I saw it when I was very young. So that is kind of my driving factor behind why I like it. However, I feel like rewatching it and compared to a lot of, you know, more modern Christmas movies, I feel like this one still kind of stands alone. And we'll get into that, obviously. So the movie I'm talking about is Jingle All The Way It is directed by Brian Levant.
Levant, I think.
Screenplay by Randy Cornfield. Came out in November of 1996.
Nice.
So I was like 5 months old.
I was not even born yet.
So I fully didn't watch this movie until I was probably like 3, 4, or 5. Now, this movie, I will say, the biggest upside to this movie, especially again compared to a lot of modern holiday movies, is the premise is genius. The premise completely. I haven't seen another holiday movie like this, and when you just read it out, it makes so much sense. Like, wait a minute, this is perfect, you know? Nowadays, it might not be as much, but maybe it still could happen if this happened in the modern day. So the overview of the movie is you have a workaholic dad. His name is Howard Langston, and he's played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right. So in that, let me just say Arnold Schwarzenegger, 80s, 90s, obviously very popular. With him and movies like this of the time period, some of these premises you'll straight out read, like, not the case with this movie, but sometimes you'll just read the premise, you're like, that doesn't work. Like, that's not going to work. But because they got these kind of larger than life actors, it kind of works, you know? Like, I will say, like, Kindergarten Cop, it's like, come on, like, that's not going to work. But, you know, they get the right actors, and when you watch it, you're like, all right, never mind, this actually kind of works. So I will say with this movie, that's kind of not the case, but kind of is in the same way. So anyways, you have a workaholic dad. He has his family. It's around Christmas time. And, you know, he's tied between two worlds. He has his work life and his family life. And, you know, sometimes priorities get kind of construed. Sometimes you want to give priority to your family, but also your work. And you're kind of torn between two worlds, two different lives. And he had a misstep with his family. His son was basically being promoted in his karate class. You know, it's a big moment. Getting the new, you know, your new colored belt is a sign that you are maturing and you have learned an adequate amount of karate to progress onto the next level. And those moments are kind of seen with a big kind of ceremony, you know. They have these so stupid. And, you know, the movie opens with that. The wife and the son are there, and the dad is strangely missing, you know, and the wife calls him. She's trying to figure out where he is. He's stuck in traffic, this and this. But you can tell that he really wants to be there, you know. So he drives, breaks the law, drives on the, you know, off ramp, and cop pulls him over, and, you know, he ends up missing the graduation ceremony.
Which has to be one of the funniest gags I've seen in a movie between him and this cop guy, which
it's
we'll get
funny.
into.
Yeah. But anyways, the premise kind of sets up. This dad feels just absolutely, you know, gutted. I miss my son's, you know, special moment, you know, because as I can assume as a father, you know, those moments are precious. You don't really get a whole lot of them in the grand scheme of things. So you kind of want to make sure that you're there. You know, these are important. So later on that night, he's trying to talk to the son, trying to make up for it. And the son, you know, kind of basically tells him, like, Dad, there is one thing you can do to make up for me. I want the biggest toy of the Christmas season that every kid wants. And he just starts going off about how much he loves this toy and everything. And, you know, the dad is like, all right, you know, like he's kind of feeling hopeful. Like, all right, I can make this up to my son. I can make this right. Obviously, you know, kids are very materialistic.
Of course.
We've all been there. I know I've been there. I want the best thing, you know, when I was younger. And if I didn't have it, I would throw a fit. Yeah. So he wants the hottest toy of the season. It's a toy, Turbo Man.
Turbo Man.
And it's based off, you know, this popular icon. And the dad's like, I got it. I'm going to get it. You know, this and this. Don't worry. And he's feeling pretty proud of himself. Later on that night, he's talking to his wife. You can tell that he's excited too, because, you know, he seeing his kid get excited for stuff. Obviously, he's the same way. And then his wife, you know, mentions to him, did you get it already? I was been meaning to tell you, like, you know, it's really popular. This is the toy. He said, yeah, you know, I got it. You know, everything's good. And in actuality, again, he forgot. And she's like, that's great because, you know, it's pretty much impossible to find one right now. And boom, that is the premise of the movie. A dad trying to make things right for his son by getting a toy that is impossible to get at this time. Christmas is days, weeks away. Parents are ahead of the game. Parents go buy stuff right away. And if you're not on it, you miss out, you know? And I know things can be a little bit different, but maybe not so much now. It's impossible sometimes to get super sought after things, you know? Things now, obviously there are resellers and people like that who buy up products and sell them. And if you're hoping to catch something for its retail price, it can be a challenge. It can be impossible, you know? You can go on release date, you can be waiting in line, ready to get the PS5 or whatever, and then it's sold out. I mean, come on, we all remember the PS5 was sold out for like a year, 2 years, or when I first got my Switch, I had to wait 7 months before I finally found one, you know? So I feel like this movie is genius in its premise that what parent or person has felt that, you know? You want this product, you want, you know, Christmas is all about buying stuff. And what if it was virtually impossible to find? What if you couldn't find it anywhere, you know, yet it was the most important thing? And I just think that premise is honestly genius and amazing. I haven't seen a Christmas movie like this that has that such an amazing premise, you know? If anyone would explain this to me in maybe like a short sentence or, you know, just simply kind of told me this, I'd be like, oh, wow, that sounds interesting. I guess, Wallied, premise alone, what are you thinking with this movie, you know?
Yeah, so right away, it's like you're already kind of intrigued to see how far it'll go with him looking for that, for like the Turbo Man toy and everything. And already, I had actually seen this film a couple of times when I was younger, and I was very curious to see how it would age, you know, now that I'm older and, you know, just kind of seeing, you know, because sometimes when you rewatch films, especially that you loved when you're younger, they tend to kind of have like a bit of like they're not as good as you remember, you know. But I didn't feel that with this case. I was actually surprised with how much I really liked this movie. And I was actually also surprised with how far it commits to the whole him looking for Turbo Man. And I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed this movie so much, was just it takes advantage of that premise alone, and it just sees how far it can take it. And those are like my favorite types of comedy films, and especially my favorite types of films is seeing how far we can push the concept, you know? And I think it fully embraces just like the absurdity and just the craziness of going to look for something like this, especially, you know, and I feel like it's so perfect for its time too, especially because it's like now with like Prime and everything, it's like, it's kind of easy to find those things, but back in the day, it's like you gotta have to go and look for the, you know, thing that you're looking for, and you just hope it's there. You know?
This movie, like Wallied says, pulls out all the stops. You have him trying to win it off a radio show. You have him trying to go to a surprise drop that happened, and they're kind of doing like a lottery system with, you know, giving out the toys, making sure it's fair for everyone. You have him trying to buy it for an absurd amount of price. It really just everything you can think of with this concept and this story, it goes for it, you know? And I think I wouldn't appreciate this movie if it was grounded, you know? If they did try to treat it maybe more serious or whatever. I like that it goes for this out there kind of thing, and you have over the top acting from Arnold. You have, you know, these characters like there's this neighbor who's like basically in love with Arnold's wife.
Oh man, that part was so hilarious to me, and that's kind of like one of the only complaints I have is I wish it took it farther. I honestly wish it would have went like more farther with that whole subplot, because I honestly thought that whole subplot was so goofy and hilarious,
goofy and funny. The performances are just great, and like it ties into an aspect that I think a lot of people could see. It's like, what wouldn't you do for your kid? You know, I know we've talked about that in more serious contexts, you know, with like searching or whatever, but this is kind of in like a funny way. Like, maybe stealing the toys on the table, you know, maybe he has to steal it. if it's that important to his kid, maybe he has to steal it. So yeah, you have that great character, just really funny. Obviously, he's just trying to get with the wife and everything, trying to steal him from Arnold, and he's very much like a paint by the numbers kind of dad. He does everything right. He is there for his son, this and this. And it's just like a really kind of funny, kind of not antagonist, but, you know, opposing kind of figure in this story.
Yeah.
And then you have a great character he ends up meeting while he's out searching for this toy. He's played by Sinbad, and he's another dad in the exact same situation trying to get the same toy. And they run into each other at all these different locations and things, and their dynamic for me is just really funny.
Yeah, their banter is so great, especially in that like mall scene with the lottery and everything.
Yeah.
Like, just the slapstick of that scene was so hilarious.
So funny.
And then my favorite part of that film, especially with their banter, was when they go to the radio station.
That's the best.
And they're like, the radio host is like, "Oh, we don't have the toy."
Yeah. It's a redeemable thing, you know?
Oh man. And I love just like how all the cops show up. And of course the cop that shows up throughout is there. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a bomb squad. I have bomb squad experience."
Yeah. And he's a mailman, so he like threatens them with this package he has that he's like, it's a bomb.
It's like such a perfect joke, and the timing of it is so great.
Funny. And then it blows up. And then he's like, that was really a bomb. He's all these sick people. This is a sick world we're living in. I don't know. So much of the humor is just like, it was so dumb, but it's so funny.
But it lands a lot of the time, and I love just how it drives just the overall story, considering just how over the top it is and everything, you know?
Yeah.
I like that it doesn't take itself too seriously, you know? I feel like, I don't know, you know, it's like, it made me, watching this, like, it made me miss movies like this, honestly, you know? Because I feel like even some of the comedies that come out now, they kind of have, like, this dramatic kind of, all of a sudden it gets super serious, you know? But I feel like, I don't know, watching this movie, it's like, I love that it's just unserious for a lot of it, you know?
Yeah.
And even when it does get a bit more heartfelt and charming by the end, you know, it's still like, it's still played for laughs, and it's still played. It's like, you know, goofy and over the top, you know?
I will agree. I do think nowadays in comedies, they feel the need to kind of be like that kind of higher form of like, we don't want to be dumb, you know? We want to still be funny but smart. But I think there's kind of a smartness. There's a smartness, you know. I think it's like with one of my favorite comedians. He says, you know, there's like a phantom intersection between smart and dumb, and if you can find that and make it work in comedy, it just works. It works in such a great way, and it's unlike anything else you'll see in comedy. And I'm like, it's so true. Like, something can be really smart, but also like dumb, you know?
Yeah.
And if you can find that blend, like, I feel like this movie does that a lot. Like, there's a scene, like, obviously with the radio, that's funny. It's like, radios do give away prizes and things. And then later on, he goes to this Santa. This is one of my favorite parts. Oh. And this Santa ends up leading him to like this underground, like, black market Santa ring where all these mall Santas meet and they put together toys and things like. It is so stupid.
Yeah.
And like, when you find it, it's just like stupid, but it's so smart. It's like that would be really funny if there were a bunch of like Santa Clauses and they meet in like this underground area to like
club,
and they're all wearing their beards and everything. And like I'm telling you, he goes to this place and it is just hilarious. Like there's just this fight basically outbreaks because this Santa sold him basically like a knockoff version. And it just completely breaks.
Spanish version of
yeah, I mean, it's just awful. And then a fight breaks out between him and all these Santas, and the movie just goes for it. You have like this Santa whip out candy cane nunchucks, and you know these little Santas like jumping on him, and then you have this big Santa show up, freaking Andre the Giant, and it actually is him. And
really?
Yeah, and he's wearing these spandex, and he's all, I'm gonna deck your halls, bub. And it's just like so stupid, yet I don't know. This is for me is a holiday staple movie. Like this, I love it a lot more now than even when I did when I was a kid, just because it's like you said, movies like this don't really get made now. You know, everything feels the need to be.
They need to have this like serious direction all of a sudden. It's just like it comes across so random and it just feels forced. You know, it's just nice it's refreshing to just see like especially a Christmas film that's just like, it's just a straight up comedy. You know? Like everything is just amped up to like 1,000. And that's, I think what works so much for me with the film, you know, and especially just the gags, I think also make like the film even better, and it drives the film even more, you know, like especially like I was mentioning with the cop, you know, he just shows up throughout. And of course, it's always like karma comes to bite him back, basically.
So funny.
And I love how that gag ends, especially at the end where he reveals himself to be like the action figure with the parade and everything.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. The ending to this movie, like the whole movie's going for it. And then the end just goes for it even more. Like there's a parade and Turbo Man's there. And Arnold ends up taking the place of Turbo Man. And he has the full suit and everything. And little did you know, his jetpack is fully functional. And
which how that makes sense, I don't know, but I don't really care.
And the person he was conflicting with the whole time ends up being the villain in that parade. And it's kind of funny. It's like this could only happen at this time period. In the 90s and stuff, where they had those super out there concepts and they just kind of went for it, you know?
Yeah.
And
fully commits to it.
And this movie's not super like low budget. Everything feels authentic. They had the money, they had the resources, so they went for it, you know?
Something I actually kind of wanted to talk about a bit that I feel like is kind of underappreciated is just Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance in this film.
It's funny.
Because man, his comedic timing and like all of the scenes is so perfect. And there's one actually scene I love in the beginning where he's taking all these calls and he's like, "You're my number one customer. You're my number one customer." And then his wife calls him and he's kind of like somewhat paying attention, but then he says, "You're my number one customer." And he kind of realizes his mistake. He's like, "Oh wait, no, sorry."
Yeah.
I just thought that whole part was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then of course, just like the whole thing with like him and Sinbad, I think is like such a great chemistry. They have like such perfect chemistry on screen. And there's a scene I love too where they're like at the bar or they're like at a diner. Yeah. And he like imagines like, instead of like Sinbad, he like imagines his kid as like the mailman if he doesn't get like the Turbo Man toy. Yeah. And I thought it was so perfect. And then the way they're like fighting over like the phone booth, you know, which in today they'd probably just get their iPhones out. But I think that's just so hilarious to show that.
There's a lot of stuff in this movie that I quote. Obviously, the "Deck Your Halls, Bub" is just a winner line that is just so funny. I say that a lot during the Christmas season. It's just hilarious. Also, another one where Arnold's arguing with the guy across the street. The guy's like eating cookies in his house, his wife's cookies, and they're so good. And Arnold's all, "Put that cookie down now." It's so funny. Like his delivery and everything is just I don't know. It's just great, perfect for the time. This is just one of my favorite holiday movies. It's obviously just really dumb, but it's really funny.
But I feel it takes advantage of that, you know, rather than it being a crutch to the film.
Yeah, I know the ratings on this movie aren't great at all, but I just feel like now, if you guys are looking for Christmas movies and stuff, I feel like this one is a little kind of underrated and overseen, and I feel like people would love it. Like, it's just really funny, and again, I feel like you don't see this kind of premise being done in movies today. You know, everything does feel the need to be, you know, high art, high evolution, you know, things like that. And I wish directors now would, you know, kind of make something maybe a little bit more over the top.
Yeah,
make
lean
something
into the silliness. You know?
Make something kind of cheesy. Make something, you know, not completely needs to reinvent the wheel, because
you don't always need to.
I don't need that every movie, you know.
You don't.
And this movie again is just perfect for the holiday season. I always put it on. It's just, for me, kind of an underrated gem for me, particular. Was there anything else you wanted to mention? Yeah,
I would just say a few little minor complaints that I had. I do kind of wish the ending was a little bit longer, because I feel like it kind of just ends abruptly.
It's really short. It's like an hour and 30-minute movie.
Yeah, and while I do think it goes by really fast, and I kind of like that it's a short runtime because it doesn't overstay its welcome, I do kind of wish we had like a bit of an epilogue of like maybe the next day on like Christmas Day of him maybe getting the Turbo Man gift.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then I would just say, like, again, I kind of wish we had a little bit more scenes with like Ted and his wife, because honestly, that whole bit was just so hilarious. It's so goofy, and I love just how like Ted was just trying to like just show off in like every way that he can. Yeah. And I love when the wife just hits him with like the eggnog. Oh man,
so funny.
Yeah. And then I would just say, I don't know, I guess this is kind of the one crutch with some of the 90s, 2000s comedies, but it kind of has that like quirky comedy music.
Yeah.
Like, or like those like really goofy sound effects. Those kind of took me out just a little bit, but it wasn't a lot to like ruin the film for me. But that's kind of like the one kind of dated thing that I was like, yeah, you could have taken those out. Yeah. Because like I feel like the comedy was already working. You didn't need to put in like that quirky comedy music. Yeah. You know?
This movie, again, has a lot of 90s staples. You got Arnold. You got a young Jake Lloyd from Phantom Menace, if you guys remember Anakin.
That was surprising for sure. I was like, oh, wow. I honestly thought that Phantom Menace was like the only thing he was in. Yeah.
But, so it has a very 90s feel to it. If you want to see Arnold take on a bunch of black market Santa Clauses, you're going to watch it in this movie. If you want to see Arnold fight a reindeer, you're going to watch it in this movie. And if you want to see over the top third act climax where they're flying around the city, it's in this movie. Again, it's really stupid, but I don't know. This is, again, one of my favorite holiday movies. I'm thinking score-wise, I'd probably put it at a 6.5 or a 7. Okay. Really enjoy it. Obviously, it's cheesy, it's dated, but there's a charm to it. And nowadays, when it comes to holiday movies and just movies in general, I feel like we've kind of taken ourselves too seriously. We kind of always need to have super high-provoking thoughts and emotions. This movie is anything but that. But there's also some heart to this movie as well. Obviously, the dad and son storyline, I feel like it's conveyed pretty good. Yeah. So yeah, definitely check it out. Wallied, what are you thinking score-wise?
Yeah, for me, this was a very big surprise. It's definitely held up a lot more. I actually loved it even more than I did when I was a kid. And I just say, yeah, again, there's a few little minor complaints that I think could have been a lot better. Obviously, some of the music could have been a little better. But for the most part, I love just the over-the-top nature of the film. Arnold Schwarzenegger's performance was fantastic. I honestly want to see him in more comedies. I hope maybe one day in the future he'll do like another comedy film again, because I feel like he has like perfect comedic timing. Yeah, just such a joy all around, and just one of the more funnier films I've seen in a while. Yeah, I would say like a high 7 out of 10.
Nice.
Leaning close to an 8, but I would just say a high 7 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah, I really liked this a lot. Way more than I thought I was going to. This was great.
Yeah. If you
Yeah.
guys want to check out
Yeah,
the kind of underrated holiday movie, right now is the season. Guarantee you guys will find some entertainment out of this movie. I feel like I have a few staples when it comes to holidays, but usually this is kind of the one I start with. This is one of my favorites.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
So yeah, it's worth checking out. Please let me know what you guys think. Again, it's really over the top, really dumb, but I feel like you guys would get something out of it at least.
I'd hope so.
All right, Wally, what are we going to talk about next time?
Yeah. So I don't know too many Christmas films. I mean, there's a few that I really love, but there's a lot that I'm like, don't really care for. But one that I'm going to recommend that took me by surprise last year. So it's going to be a more recent new film, sort of. But I really loved this film a lot, and I think it would be perfect to talk about it. It blends between being a comedy and drama. Some people could say it reminds them of like other films, but I feel like it embraces like the tropes of those like 70s, 80s, like Christmas coming of age type of films. So the film I'm going to go with is a film called The Holdovers by Alexander Payne. It has Paul Giamatti in it and Divine Joy Randolph and Dominic Sessa. It was one of the bigger surprises of the year. But yeah, it's a really amazing film that I really enjoyed a lot. And I feel like you'd enjoy it. I feel like you'd get something out of it. It's very simple. It's not going to reinvent the wheel or anything, but I feel like the simplicity of the film is what I love so much about this movie.
Nice.
So yeah, The Holdovers is what we're going to do. It's from 2023. It's from Alexander Payne. And yeah, if you guys don't want to be spoiled for it, check it out before the next episode comes out.
Nice. Just a little news in general. I, for the last 4 years, have been working 2 jobs. And I think the equivalent was like around 55 hours. I was working 55 hours. And it was taxing. It was mentally taxing. And one day I just went into my second job and was just like, I can't keep doing this. I'm tired. And I recently got promoted at one of my other jobs. So now I make enough money to where I don't need 2 jobs anymore. So I ended up quitting that second job and now I just have one. So in that, it's going to open up more time to watch movies, come on here, talk about movies, podcasts, and just kind of go all in with this show. Which was something that was a little challenging. Obviously, there'd be times when me and Wallied would be scheduled to come in, or we would want to come in, and then lo and behold, I got scheduled at my second job, or picking up shifts, trying to make more money. So now I'm in a comfortable place to where I can kind of fully invest in this podcast and the vision I kind of have for it. So yeah, you guys are going to see a lot more output in terms of reviews, things like that. I don't have this chain weighing me down anymore. And I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Just expect a lot more in the future. We're just going to be ramping up. We're getting to an important season in movies, which is
Oscar season.
We start looking back at everything that we loved throughout the year, and we'll be making our top lists, our worst of lists. We're going to be talking about our most anticipated, and we're just going to go all in on this show. So thank you guys for everything. It's been a lot of fun, and we're, like I said, over the next couple of weeks, hopefully we kind of churn out a little bit more to make up for lost time, which is what I want to do.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, good day and good night, mates.
Have a good one.